busy first sector that weaves its way through to turn 6. High speed turn 11, one of the fastest corners on the entire Grand Prix calendar. The MotoGP bikes powering through there at just under 300 kilometers an hour. 4 hard-braking spots around this Misano circuit, and overtaking hotspots are plenty. This was last year. What an epic fight this was in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It all came down to turn 4, and now Bastianini on the inside of Jorge Martin. So 6 short days ago now at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, for the first time since Argentina 2023, Alex Marquez found himself starting from pole position. There was a great battle further back for the final place on the podium, and what a move this was. A contender for overtake of the season as Enea Bastianini pounced through on fellow KTM rider Pedro Acosta. Ultimately, the beast was to take his first Sunday top 3 on board a KTM. At the front, though, it was Alex versus Mark for much of the Barcelona battle. And for the first time in 6 Marquez 1-2s in Grand Prix, it was Alex that took the spoils. What a victory, what a confidence boost for the Gresini racing rider as he took his first victory since the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez. He certainly enjoyed life on Spanish shores so far this season. Has Alex, but the Marquez brothers coming into our upcoming 13-lap sprint here at the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, have a little bit of work to do. In particular, our runaway World Championship leader Mark, who once again for just the 4th time this season finds himself starting off the front row. He's 4th on the grid. Fabio Quartararo shining once again on the factory Yamaha. Another outstanding performance so far on Sprint Saturday for the Frenchman. Topped Q1, and he's on the front row for the 8th time this year. Alex was so close to back-to-back poles, only 0.08 of a second behind our P1 star in Q2, and it was a very popular pole position, wasn't it, this morning for the Italian fans who are en masse here for the sprint action this afternoon, because it was one of their own. It was the local hero, done good, Marco Bezzecchi on the factory Aprilia with a sensational 1:30.134. An absolutely unbelievable final sector on his last flying lap. Put Bez on pole position for the 2nd time in the last 4 Grand Prix. Aprilia's first Misano pole position, just their 11th in Premier Class history. Their first, coincidentally, was on Italian soil as well, all the way back in 1999 on the old 2-stroke 500s. Tetsuya Harada in Mugello. So Aprilia have had to wait an awful long time for a home pole position. Worth the wait, though, because Marco Bezzecchi delivered a spectacular lap. It was a pretty dramatic Q2 this morning, which sets us up nicely for sprint number 16 in 2025. Marc Marquez has been completely and utterly dominant on Saturdays so far this season. 14 sprint wins in the opening 15 rounds, including the last 8. Including, of course, taking advantage of brother Alex's slip-up when he was leading 7 days ago at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Well, it's not just home hopes resting on the shoulders of Marco Bezzecchi. There's been some other outstanding performances from the local riders. Frankie Morbidelli and Luca Marini, they start on the 2nd row of the grid. A first ever top 6 qualifying on a Honda for Marini. And Pecco Bagnaia showing glimpses of some of his old brilliant form as he will go from 8th place on the grid, 1 place behind Fabio at the Gian Antonio. A star of the show, though, in this morning's Q2, Matt Burton-Lewis sort of in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Some lap Lewis, wasn't it, from Bez, putting behind him quickly the double DNF in Barcelona last weekend. There's been a lot of teamwork going on, some tandem work going on between Bez and Jorge Martin, and it has paid off handsomely. The pair of them into Q2 yesterday, and one of them on pole position. Yeah,
it was Marco Bezzecchi handing out the help to Jorge Martin in practice yesterday afternoon with a bit of a tone of reference in practice. That enabled Martin to reach Q2, and Jorge Martin returned the favour in qualifying earlier on today, handing a slipstream to Bez coming out of turn 10 on his crucial qualifying lap. Whether that ultimately made the difference between pole and not, of course, is difficult to truly calculate, but it certainly helped Bezzecchi taking his second pole position of the season, and of course a first for him in MotoGP on Italian soil.
Yeah, pole position number 6 in MotoGP, 10th of his Grand Prix career. Just behind him in second place with a 1:30.222, which put him in P2 on the grid for this 13-lap sprint. Here's Gresini racing rider Alex Marquez, just the second win of his MotoGP career last time out. One of the best wins of Alex's Grand Prix career, without question, having to fend off race-long pressure from brother Mark, which is certainly a tough proposition at the best of times, isn't it? As the grid then starts to congregate here for what is officially the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino and the Rimini Riviera at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, which is a bit of a mouthful, but we got there in the end.
Just about got it right. Fabio Quartararo, who starts from the front row of the grid, keeping up what is an incredible recent record of riders going through Q1 to the very front of the grid. 6 Grand Prix in a row now that's happened. Quartararo, of course, achieving that in Barcelona last weekend, picking Yamaha up on his shoulders and carrying them around Misano with an incredible couple of qualifying sessions. In truth, he was already super quick in Q1, then improved to a 30.2 in qualifying 2 to bump this man off the front row of the grid.
Not unusual to find Mark starting from 4th place on the grid. He has done so already this season at the British Grand Prix, at the Dutch Grand Prix, and also at the Austrian Grand Prix most recently. Big smiles on the face of the boss, MotoGP Hall of Famer Valentino Rossi, the 7 times MotoGP world champion, getting, as always, a great reception from his home crowd. Of course, the fabled VR46 training ranch in nearby Tavulia, about a 5-minute drive away from this Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, the doctor, would certainly have enjoyed his Saturday morning watching Bez take pole position, Frankie Morbidelli and Fabio Di Gianantonio on the 2nd and 3rd rows of the grid respectively, and of course his brother Luca Marini, who really is enjoying life at the moment on the factory Honda. A career best HRC qualifying from Luca as he completes row 2 in 6th.
It's been a really good weekend for the Academy, of which you were there looking at the tutor of them all, Valentino Rossi. Although I guess as far as that story is concerned, it wasn't all happy smiles at the end of qualifying today. The rider in the box that you're now looking at, Pecco Bagnaia, qualifying down in 8th place, although the margins were so fine in qualifying yesterday. All Pecco Bagnaia had to do was find 600ths of a second and he would have been ahead of his teammate Marc Marquez in 4th place. Marc Marquez on a 1:30.352 in 4th, Bagnaia a 1:30.414 front of row 3.
Just a little bit of news to bring you, of course. Joan Mir, the factory Honda rider who suffered a crash yesterday at turn 9, has withdrawn from the whole of today's programme here in Misano. Of course, having set the time yesterday in practice, he was due to start 12th on the grid. Let's hope that he is on that 4th row for tomorrow's 27-lap Grand Prix. But absent from the sprint coming up shortly. Here's confirmation on screens. He was actually declared fit, but having consulted with circuit medics and HRC, all parties agreed to miss today's running to focus on him being in the best possible shape for tomorrow. So what that means, of course, Mir's absence means that anybody that's qualified behind Jorge Martin in Q2 this morning moves up 1 spot on the grid. So Miguel Oliveira, who qualified 13th, or was classified 13th at the end of our 2 sessions this morning, well, the Portuguese rider bumped up then now onto row 4 in 12th.
And it means that only 22 start the sprint this afternoon, and Joan Mir has had some rotten luck and rotten history here in Misano. Missed the whole weekend here last year after falling ill to gastroenteritis. Hopefully he'll be fit to start tomorrow, not only because he's been competitive, but that Honda is continuing to make some serious strides towards the front of the field, to the point that not many people were surprised to see Luca Marini qualify 6th earlier on today.
Well, it's been home sweet home so far on Sprint Saturday for Bezzecchi, clearly, as he's taken that pole position. We certainly can't say the same for another home hero, born just down the road in nearby Rimini. Enea Bastianini, who came into this home round brimming with confidence after that breakthrough first Grand Prix podium on the KTM 6 days ago over in Barcelona. The beast has had a shocker so far here this weekend. 17th yesterday, 20th on the grid, of course, pushed up to 19th by Mir's absence. Certainly not helped by a qualifying crash in Q1 this morning at turn 15, the 27-year-old Italian. Going to be hard pushed tomorrow to see Enea continue his unbelievable record on home turf, where in MotoGP on Sundays he has never finished off the podium in 5 previous outings. If Mir is fit, well, Enea will be 20th on the grid. I think it's the longest of long shots to see him fighting for the top 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, just points will, I think, be a good result given how his weekend's gone. And KTM collectively have not necessarily enjoyed quite as strong a weekend as they had in Barcelona. They have had some instability issues with their RC16s on a track surface that has very different grip characteristics to Barcelona. Pedro Acosta, the leading KTM, up in 9th place, although once again we did see a mistake at a crucial moment for Acosta earlier on in Q2, where he could have potentially started a little higher up than 9th place.
We are about to witness a moment of Yamaha history, a moment in MotoGP history, of course, as well, because for the first time we're going to see the new V4-powered YZR M1 raced in anger. Augusto Fernandez has done a solid job, more than solid job, on that experimental new V4. There's been a couple of teething issues, as you'd expect, in the early phase of the project. A couple of crashes, both at turn 2 for the former Moto2 world champion. But encouraging signs. That new V4, not a million miles off the pace. Well, he's an Aprilia ambassador, which means he would have loved what he saw this morning. Marco Bezzecchi putting an RSGP on pole position here in Italy. Let's get the thoughts from 4 times 250cc world champion and MotoGP legend Max Biaggi, who joins Jack.
Yes, Marco's RSGP just rolls past us into pole position. Firstly, on Marco, what a great opportunity this is on home soil for him, home soil for Aprilia. This is a race where he's going to go all in.
Yeah, we are extremely happy for this performance of Bezzecchi, of course, in Italia, in front of his own people. For us to see Aprilia in pole position is the greatest thing can happen. Okay, today is the only start of the sprint race in pole, but let's see how we end up. We have big hope, and I think if he can start a very good start, he can have a great result.
Is Mark going to be his biggest rival? He didn't look himself this morning in qualifying, though.
Well, you never know him, you know. It's you don't have ever estimate Mark, and but Marco, he did a great pace. It's good even with a soft tire on the rear and the medium. So big hope for today and tomorrow.
Thanks, Max.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Max. Thanks to Jack as well, down on the grid. We've got a Formula One superstar, four-wheeled racing royalty. Lando Norris, of course, fighting for the Formula One World Championship with his teammate Oscar Piastri in McLaren. We know he's a massive MotoGP weekend off, enjoying life in the San Marino sunshine.
Yeah, you'd imagine, given how high pressure his season has been, battling with Oscar Piastri for the Formula One World Championship, that he'd have a quiet weekend off. But as a true MotoGP fan that he is, he's spending it at the San Marino Grand Prix here at Misano. It is a weekend awash with motorsport royalty, isn't it? With, of course, the MotoGP Hall of Fame unveiled on Thursday night. So many of those Hall of Famers, as you saw there with Casey Stoner, are here on site. This is the grid then for the sprint. Marco Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez, Fabio Quartararo is your front row. For just the 4th time this year, a front row that does not involve Marc Marquez. He starts 4th from Frankie Morbidelli and Luca Marini. Fabio Di Giannantonio, he heads row 3 ahead of Pecco Bagnaia and Pedro Acosta, who went down in Q2. Aldeguer, Martin and Oliveira on row 4. Everyone from Oliveira backwards promoted by Mir's injury and forced absence. That's the best qualifying or equal best of Oliveira's season. On row 5 we find Ralph Fernandez, Ayagura and Brad Binder, Maverick Vinales, Alex Rins and Johan Zarco on row 6. Zarco has not enjoyed his San Marino Grand Prix weekend to this point. Nor has Enea Bastianini in 19th place. Jack Miller 20th. Augusto Fernandez on the V4 Yamaha, which he has crashed twice this weekend, 21st, and the grid of 22 for this afternoon. afternoon, minus Joan Mir, is completed by Songkyak Chantra.
The doctor is in the house and ready to see what Morbidelli and Gian Antonio can do from 5th and 7th on the grid respectively. Yeah, Johan Zarco's worst qualifying in 27 rounds since the Saxon Ring in Germany last year. Jack Miller's had a real tough weekend so far. 2 crashes on the Pramac Yamaha for him. His lowest qualifying since Valencia all the way back in 2015. So this is going to be a huge day in the history of Yamaha as they get to race debut the brand new V4 powered YZR M1 with Augusto Fernandez. Fabio Quartararo shining and brilliant on the front row once again. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Paolo Pavesio, who's with Jack.
Yeah, with Gino Borsoi as well, just outside Jack Miller's starting spot, with of course Augusto just next to him. The race debut of the V4, Paolo. It's been a long journey. I'm sure that there's excitement, nerves. Just talk us through the emotions.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but we could perform it pretty quick because it's, I would say, 1 year and a half from the decision. It's a very important day for sure because from today we start to see what the bike can deliver inside, hopefully, the racing pack. We can start to compare what we could do and not with M1 compared to the V4 prototype, but most important is to collect data, is to start the new journey from now and see up to which level we can bring it.
And have you got any words to describe what we saw from Fabio this morning? Another just remarkable turnaround from Friday to Saturday.
It's Fabio. He's a special rider. He has something that he can do that very few riders in the world can, and we are proud to have him with us. And we are looking forward to this race and to many more together.
Thanks, Paolo.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, as always, to Yamaha boss Paolo Pavesio. Fabio Quartararo, sort of once again on his lonesome, carrying the hopes of the Iwata factory on those broad shoulders. Another unbelievable Q1 and Q2 performance, wasn't it, from the 26-year-old Frenchman. Well, we've got a 7 times MotoGP world champion on the grid. We just saw him walking there, Valentino Rossi. We've got another one now. As Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi, they're not going to make eye contact either. We saw this, didn't we, a couple of rounds ago. One rider who already has 7 MotoGP world titles tucked away, and one who is so close to adding his 7th. Surely it's only just a matter of time. Surely it will be next time out at the Mobility Resort Motegi, where Marc Marquez is crowned 2025 world champion. If you are wondering what the state of play is in terms of the championship, Alex's win last weekend in Barcelona no longer means Marc can win it here this weekend at the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino. You think he's going to make light work, though, of what he needs to do to set up match point #1 in Motegi next weekend. He just needs 3 points this weekend, Lewis. And it's game on in Japan.
Or if Alex Marquez does not win this Tissot sprint, then that will also guarantee a match point for Marc Marquez. He only needs 3 points if Alex Marquez wins the lot here this weekend. And Bastianini has very different thoughts in his mind. Of course, even before this Grand Prix weekend got underway with a split from his crew chief Alberto Giurabiola. Xavi Palacin is his new crew chief, who has some long-time experience with KTM through their Moto3 and Moto2 projects. But of course, a new relationship beginning at a time when Enea Bastianini arrived here on the back of his best ever KTM result.
Well, Marc Marquez chasing a 9th successive sprint win this season. What about Pecco Bagnaia? Can he get his teeth into the fight for a podium here today? Let's get the thoughts of factory Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi, who's with Jack.
Davide, is it just me that thought that Marc didn't look 100% comfortable this morning? What have you done to the bike to get him ready for the sprint?
We done nothing. Unfortunately, both riders make some small mistake during the fastest lap and qualify in 2nd and 3rd row, but I think that potential is higher, considering that is the favorite because he's been the fastest almost all weekend so far. But in the end, I think that with a good start, both riders can raise the position that they have in the grid.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Thanks to Davide Tardozzi. Thanks, Jack. Second row starts haven't really proved too troublesome so far this season as far as Marc Marquez is concerned. He started 4th at Silverstone, 2nd in the sprint, 3rd in the Grand Prix, started 4th in Assen, completed the double win there, started 4th at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, And guess what? Yes, of course he did. He completed the double in the Styria Mountains as well. So 4th places on the grid have not proven to be too much of a hurdle so far this season as far as the 32-year-old is concerned. Looking forward to seeing what Luca Marini can do in this sprint and over the longer distance main Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon over 27 laps, because it's been impressive, Lewis, to say the least, the way that Honda are improving, helped by, of course, Luca Marini's renowned development skills. A very analytical, methodical rider, isn't he, is Luca. Top 6 on the grid, and you've got to say, double top 6, great chance for him to secure this weekend. We'll get some more thoughts on Luca shortly, but let's go down to hear one of our Italian World Superbike stars who's soaking up the atmosphere here in Misano. It's Axel Bassani with Jack.
Yeah, he knows this place like the back of his hand. You know most of these riders pretty well, Axel, so talk us through what you're expecting in this sprint.
I don't know. Honestly, I hope Bezzecchi can fight for the win, because I like him. He's a really good rider, good person. But yeah, you know, Marc Marquez is a different level. So I think he can do everything he wants. But at the same time, I hope to see a race where everyone can fight for the win. No?
It was great to see you here. Enjoy the sprint.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes, all of us echo those sentiments from Axel Bassani. Yeah, let's hope we do get a pretty good sprint coming up. 13 laps of action in just under 8 minutes' time. Marc Marquez then in the zone, fully concentrated. Aragon, Mugello, Assen, Sachsenring, Brno, Red Bull Ring, Balaton Park, and most recently Catalunya. His golden run of gold medals, 8 successive sprint wins for Marc. Last time he was beaten on Saturday afternoons was by his brother Alex at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Let's go down and get the thoughts then of Gresini Racing boss Michele Massini with Alex Marquez on that front row. Jack?
Yeah, he's well in contention again. He's Alex, of course, the victor last time we went racing, but everyone on the grid, Michele, is telling me it's Marco versus Marc. Can Alex get involved as well?
I mean, our target is to try to win the sprint and nothing else. But because we come here after Barcelona, different condition of the track. So here we have a lot of grip. We will try to manage. It's not our favorite track layout, but we shown again a great speed. So means that we are in the best shape.
Thanks, Michele. Good luck.
Welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Michele Massini. Of course, a huge home round this for Gresini Racing at their base, not too far away in this part of Italy. And of course, always special for them to come to the home of their late team boss, Fausto Gresini. So your front row of what's a packed grid. Absolutely jam-packed, this grid, isn't it? Under scorching hot conditions. There in the middle of your picture, with the black cap is Lando Norris. Now we know who he hero worships on 2 wheels in the past. An unashamedly big Valentino Rossi 46 fan. He's being escorted right now to the Pertamina Endurovia 46 racing team, where he's going to be as giddy as a 5-year-old when he bumps into Valentino again, I'm sure.
Well, regular Formula One fans like me will know that Lando Norris's crash helmet is bright Valentino Rossi yellow. He is an absolute Valentino Rossi super fan. Of course, met him at the British Grand Prix, wasn't it, 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it was one of the biggest and best experiences of his life. In many respects, his motorsport career is owed to Valentino.
Well, we know Jorge Martin is very pally with Lando Norris, because we saw those two hanging out in the Mazzano paddock here last night. Jorge Martin 11th on the grid for the factory Aprilia team. A little bit too far behind his teammate Marco Bezzecchi to get a helping hand, you feel, in this sprint. But we know Martin in the last 3 or 4 Grand Prix, there's been absolutely nothing wrong with his race pace at all. You feel there was another waste opportunity as far as this young rider is concerned. Acosta, when he was trying to get a toe behind Marc Marquez late on in that Q2 session this morning. At the time, he was on the front row in 3rd place and looking really strong. We saw how hard he was working and pushing to keep with Marc through the fast right-handers. And then when we came to the bottom gear, turn 14, Well, that pace was certainly too hot for Acosta's Michelin front tyre handle. Down the road he went, and down the order he went by 6 places. You feel that Acosta has a lot more to offer than that 9th place in Q2, Lewis.
Yeah, once again, when you look at Acosta's qualifying, we're still yet to see him on the front row of a grid this season. And there have been many GPs where he's had the pace to be there. He's going to have to be very aggressive on the first lap of this sprint. He starts right next to this man, Pecco Bagnaia. Marc Marquez on the front of row 2. Even by his extraordinary powers of recovery, it would take something special for him to lead out of turn 1 from there. It's not a particularly long run down to the first corner, and it's into a first corner which then tightens significantly into the left-hander of 2. The further back down you are down the grid, the more likely you are to hit trouble through there.
Can't believe I'm saying this. We have not seen Bagnaia on a sprint podium since we were last on Italian soil at Mugello. That was 6 rounds ago now. Just shows how much the struggles have impacted on Bagnaia's year. I have to say, the Italian fans, they're sticking with him. Every time he comes up on screen, he gets a massive cheer and a massive reception. They know the class that the Bagnaia is. They know that currently he's in a bit of a rut. He's in one of the worst periods of his Grand Prix career, but he's fighting tooth and nail to get himself out of it. Here's your top 2 then in the World Championship. Alex Marquez starting from 2nd place on the grid. Marco Bezzecchi on pole. He's going to be certainly one of the big threats to the Marquez siblings, isn't he, in this upcoming sprint. 13 laps then around this 4.226 kilometre Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. We've only had 2 sprint winners so far this season, and they've come from the same household. Mark's won 14, Alex the 1. Can Marco Bezzecchi break the Marquez domination on Super Saturdays? There is Bagnaia then, getting himself set as a packed grid clears here then in San Marino. Marc Marquez tantalisingly close to that 7th MotoGP crown. He heads row 2 in 4th place. Your front row, his 49th MotoGP front row start for Fabio Quartararo. Alex Marquez goes from 2nd, with Marco Bezzecchi on pole in Italy. Misano is crying out for a home hero once